Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Priscilla, and Priscilla are going to be and I are going to be talking about her book, "The Collaboration is the New Competition." I've read it, Priscilla, and it's a really great book. I really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks because you really encouraged me as I was writing it, and it meant a lot to me.
Good, good. So before we dig into it, where can people find you?
Well, for the book, they can find me at priscillamckinney.com, and that's Priscilla, which they can see on the screen. But also for my work, my day job, I'm at littlebirdmarketing.com, and we have a lot of fabulous free resources just on the resources page.
So, just before we went live, you were saying that actually, when you were growing up, because you're one of
I'm 5. I'm the
five
5th. Yes,
you of five sisters,
that's correct.
and I know that you're all really good at singing, but as well as good at singing, you're all good at writing as well. You were saying that you would basically what you would do is you'd write stories and pass them around.
Yeah, this is how we entertained ourselves when, as you know, growing up in Europe, I'm sorry, there is no TV. So it was pretty bad. So yeah, we entertained ourselves writing all of my sisters, honestly, all of them are fantastic writers.
So, what was the motivation behind the book?
Well, really, the motivation here is that there had to be a new way forward, and for whatever reason, I intuited that if I wanted to get, farther faster, I was going to need to do that with people, and whether that comes from the way I was raised or it comes from just seeing opportunities in business a certain way, I realized at some point that I saw the world differently, and people would ask me, "Well, how did you have that success so quickly?" And I thought, "Well, this seems obvious to me." And I think, as with all good, really great pieces of truth that you can share with other people, sometimes things come a little bit easier to you, and you got to read someone else's book for the thing that did not come easy to you. But I realized I had a unique perspective, and people were hungry for it. And it's not anything I think earth shattering, but it does provide a framework so that people could start just seeing this pattern, seeing these things that they could no longer unsee. And it would help them get further faster in their career, with their organization, in their church, with their family, whatever it is. I think the truths apply anywhere.
Because you talk in the book about the Kumbaya effect. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think when I first talk about collaboration with people, some people have a twitch and they're like, "No, I'm never going back and I'm never doing that." But that's when I realized those people have not actually collaborated. They've been forced into weird situations that have been called collaboration. And I'm a fan of a good weenie roast, creating some s'mores, having a good time around the campfire. I love it. You mentioned my family grew up singing, so yeah, we're gonna do it. Great, break a guitar out. We're gonna have a good time, but don't mistake that for collaboration. Really, a campfire circle where people get called together, that is geography, right? And that is proximity, but that is not necessarily collaboration. And that is what is happening in a lot of companies these days. We're bringing people together, but they're not following the rules of collaboration. And so you get maybe this kumbaya moment. Well, it feels great that we all got together, but we still don't accomplish something, and not in a way that moves us forward with a bigger win. And so I want people to really understand that difference. If you want the kumbaya effect, I'm not saying it's not great, but it's not collaboration.
I think we've all been in a meeting where you go to the meeting and you go, "Oh, that's really good," and then you come away from it and you go, "So what did we achieve?" And it's like, "Well, nothing."
Unfortunately, we've gone to many of those, and I think for anybody here who's served on a board at different times, that is also a really key place, unfortunately, where I see this happen a lot. You're bringing people together, but there's not a clear path for collaboration, for true collaboration, and so it gets very frustrating, and it happens in work also, with work groups, where you can see when it falls apart. What happens is that one person or two people carry the burden and are really doing the work, and the other people are just showing up for that kumbaya moment,
Mm.
but they're not really helping. And so I wanted to give people a very clear framework to fix those issues, because I don't want people to shy away from working together.
You also talk about the difference between collaboration and networking.
Yeah, and you can collaboratively network, which would be amazing. But networking is a little bit different. I'm pretty famed of saying that you don't sell to your network, you sell through your network, and that is the collaboration piece. You need to build a network of the people, as many people as you possibly can, meaningfully around you with a purpose, and then collaboration begins to spark out of that network. So you do need to understand how they are different.
Yeah, yeah. There's a big difference between the two. Also, what you've done with the book, which I really loved, was the fact that you've built this framework, but you've used rather than sort of like stage one, stage two, and things like that. You've actually come up with these what anchors of collaboration you call it, don't you?
Mhm.
So explain to me why you called them anchors of collaboration.
Right. Well, I kind of did because I like to sail. And so for me, they've always been anchors, when you feel like you're just adrift out there or when a storm comes and you're like, you know what? The safest place is to drop an anchor and settled. And so for me, you're right. I don't like these prescribed three steps, seven things you can do. This prescription for collaboration is not very helpful. A framework is helpful. And then I'm telling you, things will not go well at some point. And if they do start to go badly, you can find an anchor, grab an anchor, find a harbor, drop that anchor and get settled so that you can chart a new way forward. Right. And so that metaphor is there just for that reason. But my point with the anchors are that I don't know what's going wrong and I don't know what will fix it, but one of these seven will spark the right idea. It will help you understand. And so it is kind of like a toolbox, really, to say, this anchor may work. And that's the metaphor that people don't understand. Truly, in sailing, we have different anchors, a different anchor for a muddy bottom or for sand or for rocks. There are different anchors. And so different situations call for different anchors. And so I'm not saying all seven will work, but I am saying you can flip through these seven and say, could this work? Is this what the problem was? Could this get us out of this jam?
And just so you know, Andy Foot has says hello.
Hello. Love me some Andy Foot. Talk about a networker.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so I'm not going to do the your collaboration anchors in order. I'm going to pick the ones that I like the titles of.
Okay, I love it.
So itchy backs. What
I
on earth is
know.
itchy back?
It is so funny because I just was having a podcast with Andy Crestadina, a great friend of mine, an amazing collaborator
He
and
is a
great networker.
fantastic collaborator.
Oh my gosh, so great. And he said that he heard me speak at a conference where we both got to share the stage. And he's like, Priscilla, I walked away. I've been crazed about this itchy backs idea. But what it is it's basically turning something on in your brain to begin to look around the room, look around your networking, your proverbial room, and begin to look at people differently. So hopefully this is a mindset shift and a pattern you'll never unsee. And that is to look around the room and say, what do they need? What part of their back is itching and they can't seem to get it themselves? And so oftentimes when we network and then we even want to collaborate, we walk into that proverbial room, whatever it is, and we are very intent on what we need to get done. And
Yes,
what I'm
it's about
saying,
us, isn't it?
it's about us. It's about us. And I'm not saying in my book, I talk a lot about don't be shy about what you need. You need to get clear, but you also need to get clear about what other people need. And so this itchy backs anchor is saying, you know what, maybe I don't have the right people that I'm collaborating with because I have failed to look at the needs of others. And if I could find someone, two, three, 500 people who have an adjacent problem. They've got a itchy back, and it is related to what could be solved in this situation. It could be adjacent to my issue. Then you get a lot of people who like the concept of these kidney transplants that are multiple transplants, right? So you have someone in your family who needs a kidney, but you don't have anybody who matches. and on and on. I think everybody's pretty aware of these kinds of situations. They can get 10 up to hundreds of people in these circles. Everybody needs something and everybody has something to give, but it's a mix and match. And so you get this beauty of so many more people getting what they need because you were aware of what someone else in the room needed.
And I think also what happens is that we can, if we have a, if we have a solution for something, and I'm not necessarily saying that we're selling something, but if we can help somebody in some way, then we should be able to offer that. Because if we can help somebody, because you talk about your first anchor is about always being helpful, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
and
that's about
listen,
giving rather than necessarily receiving, isn't it?
yeah, and this is why you and Adam and the DLA team, why we're so connected is because we believe in this and we walk this walk. We start by being overtly helpful with the content that we're giving. We give things away because it is the start of being able to free people up to then talk about what they need. So it is absolutely the beginning of collaboration. Lead with helping, figure out how you can help, and then it will start kicking off another phenomenon.
What I'm interested in this digital first thing. What's digital? What do you mean by digital first?
Well, I love this because you're a great example of it.
Well,
I think of
I kind of guess because in it you sent a bookmark,
Mhm.
and on the bookmark there is your LinkedIn
Yes.
URL at the bottom. I've only got one hand because I'm holding the book with the other hand at the moment.
Absolutely. So it's about connecting with me. Some people may not know me and think, I think about authors I love and I think, oh, I can possibly become to know them. But you know what? I've connected on LinkedIn with several authors that I've read and they have connected with me. And so it's kind of like this access to anyone idea. So once you kind of get over that, of course, someone maybe mega famous is not going to connect with you, but in general, people will connect and you say, talk to them about, hey, that idea was great. It helped me with something else. Tim, you're an author. Adam on your team is an author. We often wrote these things because we're trying to help people. And so we do want to connect and it expands your world. But it's not just about connecting to authors or people who are in some way have some fame. It's about connecting to a lot of people and thinking digitally. So I happen to live in a small town. I didn't always.
It's a lovely
It's a
town.
lovely town.
It's a lovely
It's
town.
a lovely town.
It's got a great ice cream bar.
Thank you. And there's a few other things. But I grew up in a very busy, bustling metropolis, of Madrid. And I appreciate the fact that there's so much more to do there. Obviously, I'm in a small town now, but it should not preclude you from making the kinds of major connections that you need because digital first is a mindset where I don't live in a small town. I live in this wide, wide world, and it's very easy to connect and you need to get yourself over it. And Tim, you're a perfect example, which I do use as an example in the book about how we met because I was leaving and going to London. And I simply put the word out to friends of mine and said, look, you know me, you know that what kinds of people would appreciate my what I have to offer and also my sense of humor, but I'll promise you this: I will pay for whatever breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I will not keep these people more than an hour, and I will not try and sell anything to them. Would you open up your address book for me and will you connect me with people? And someone connected me with you and Adam, and it started a beautiful networking and in fact partnership.
It was really interesting. I can't remember who it was that connected us, but you actually wrote to us and said, you took us to lunch at the
Savoy.
Savoy,
Not too shabby.
which for those that don't know is probably one of the most expensive hotels and restaurants in London. You said that you would only to keep us an hour and you wouldn't try and sell us anything, and you kept to your word.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a fantastic time. You gave me your book. I read it on the tube, and we've had such a powerful, connection since then. And you just can't, you can't underestimate the power of making that connection.
I think Andy's trying to join in, saying maybe it was Andy that
Maybe it
connected us.
was.
Anyway, we had, and it was a fantastic lunch,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we did
and I
stay
didn't
for
pay.
dessert. Yeah, we did stay for dessert because I insisted. I mean, we're at the Savoy.
Yes, yeah. It's yeah. I've never been back.
Well, maybe I need to come back.
You need to come back. You need to come over.
Okay. All right. I'm all for it. Let's do a couple book readings somewhere and
Yes, yes.
we'll make it happen.
Andy actually says, "I wish it was."
Yes. I think actually what's interesting is Tim is the person who connected me to Andy, actually.
I probably do.
Yeah.
He's a shining light and and the thing about Andy, he's a Brit in the US, isn't he? So
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good situation. Yeah, he is a beacon of LinkedIn prowess, I would say.
what's your rule of 15 then?
Yeah. So the rule of 15 is just basically about how you go about things. Some people want to get started collaborating or they want to network, they want to start really digging in and getting more meaningful, but they're unsure how to do it. And so I think the first thing I hear from people is this idea of, oh, I don't want to be icky and salesy. And my response is, okay, then don't be icky and don't be salesy. And it really is as simple as that. But what they need to do, especially as they're connecting digitally, is they need to understand that there is a cadence. If you go to a cocktail party and you stand there and you do nothing but talk about yourself, you're not going to get invited back and you're not going to get anybody offering to help you. You need to do some listening, you need to offer some sound advice, something helpful, something funny, something personal. There is a like just a kind of a natural cadence that can happen, but some people get so awkward and they feel you know so stressed about it. So I set up a rule of 15 that basically says for all the next 15 touches that you're going to have with somebody, it basically gives them some math to it. And so it
Yep,
says you need to create 10 things that are
yep,
just interesting, that show that you are an interesting person,
yes,
and then 4 things that show you're interested, that are
yep,
very prescriptively helpful to them. Like they you have thought through something for this person and, given it some thought and are offering something of value that is specific. And for each one of those, my personal opinion is that that puts 14 chits in the bank, and you have one opportunity to be very clear and say, "Hey, Tim, you know what I really could use? I really need to get on your podcast and amplify my idea and get to reach your audience. What do you say?" But if I came to you and asked you that the very first time, that would be very weird if I didn't know you, at all. And so it is basically giving some people who feel uncertain about what to do just some kind of a game plan so that they can then be sure to ask. But don't forget that one. You really do need to ask. Some people
I,
get doing the other 14 and then never actually ask for what
I
they
do
need.
get people who are complete strangers coming to me saying, "I want to be on my podcast," and it's a very strange feeling when someone does that, when they
Mhm.
actually don't try and get to know you first of all.
Mhm.
Um, and actually, usually what happens is that I know what Andy Paul, the sales guru, basically says. If you go and pitch to someone, you get a fight or flight reaction from the other person.
Right. Mhm.
It's not what you want.
Right.
Um, so anyway, in the 2 minutes that we've got, be a zebra or be a zebra, as in your language.
Yeah, I love this. This is very much actually it was really born out of the an idea from you and Adam, this idea of kind of looking at digital first. And it's really just a revisioning of Gestalt theory. If you have, 15 dots and one zebra, you're one out of two as opposed to 16 to one. It's a very different way of looking at the world. You have to get memorable. Listen, digital world is moving fast. People our attention deficit. No matter what job you're doing, we all are being pulled in so many different directions. And so you need to be able to get in, have a conversation, be memorable for some reason. And so this idea of quit trying to swim in the sea of sameness. Figure out what you want to be famous for and get busy actually, constantly get the consistency of your message there.
Priscilla, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new book, Collaboration is the New Competition. Where can people find it?
Well, they can find it on Amazon, and if they really wanna get a, personal handwritten note in there, you can also find it on my PriscillaMcKinney.com and order an actual signed copy from there, and I will painstakingly and very lovingly I will write a note that is personal to you, and I will send that out myself.
You did, because you wrote me a note that says, "P.S. We'll always have Stonehenge."
That's such a
And,
good story.
and we're not going to explain to anybody
Mm,
what that means. But if you ever contact us direct, we will tell you. It's a
100%.
long story.
It's so good.
I dined
Um,
out on that story for so long, Priscilla.
it's my gift to you.
Thank you so much for that. Where can
Turning
people find you?
turning my tragedy into your wonderful stories.
Where can people find you?
On LinkedIn, 100% Priscilla McKinney, and of course on X, you can find me at Little Bird Mama, and that's Little Bird MOMMA. And of course, Little Bird Marketing, all of the things with my company, you can find me in a lot of different places there.
Fantastic. Priscilla, thank you so much. And thank you for your book. Really loved it. And certainly going to be, I'll leave you a 5-star review on.
Oh, I love it. Well, that'll mean a lot coming from you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Priscilla.